The Nintendo Switch 2 is here. I'm holding it. This is what I think. Hi there guys, it's Aaron here from Mirror Gaming, coming at you from the Nintendo Switch 2 experience here in Paris with the world first hands-on of the Nintendo Switch 2 device. It's bigger, it's comfortable, it's an extension of the sort of like form factor we know, just sort of like tidied up and tucked in. It's absolutely brilliant from what I'm seeing. Now, if you can cast your mind all the way back to 2017, the original Nintendo Switch launched in the UK without a game, solely as a console, for $279.99. Fast forward 8 years later, we're now here with the Nintendo Switch 2, and just for the console itself, without the Mario Kart World bundle, you're going to be expected to pay $395.99. Now, that might sound a lot on the surface, but when compared to the kind of like HD output that this device can do, it's 4K ready when docked, it outputs at 1080p resolution in handheld mode, it's very compatible and competitive with other, shall we say, PC handheld devices on the market. Is it high? Yes. Is it surprising? No, not really. With the Nintendo Switch 2 sort of like enhanced edition games, you're going to have to pay an upgrade fee. Nintendo's not talking a lot now about how much that'll cost. I'm kind of curious as to how third parties are going to handle that. Are third party companies going to be charging an upgrade fee? And let's say you want to play Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. I own the Nintendo Switch 1 cart of Zelda Tears in the Kingdom. I'm wondering if I pop this in the Nintendo Switch 2, because there's a Nintendo Switch 2 enhanced version, does it suddenly mean that you're not going to get any of the new hardware's benefits if you don't want to upgrade? Obviously, certain games, like we saw with Super Mario Party Jamboree, they're going to have whole new modes only available on the Nintendo Switch 2. But is Nintendo really going to reserve sort of like a higher frame rate, faster load times for anybody who has their original Nintendo Switch 1 cart? I'm not sure. Still getting to grips with some of the new powers here in Mario Kart World, not going to lie. I'm 19th, guys, currently out of 24. So, what a mad time to be alive. It's kind of like a map, but it's not leaving any like fingerprints, which is really nice. Feels smooth to the touch. It's not going to slip out of my hands. Thumbsticks are obviously a lot bigger. They click in, they're very responsive. So are the face buttons as well. I will say, I'm really feeling the benefit of the bigger ZL and ZR buttons. It's very like, you've clicked me, all right, don't worry about that, we'll be here. So it's got a built-in microphone on the top here, where if you want to use the new mysterious C button, which is obviously the game chat feature, you click it there, it'll pick up your voice from roughly around about 10 meters away, I believe. Can't actually show you any of the game chat functionality as yet. I can certainly try to. I can press it all day long. Nothing's going to happen though. USB-C port in the bottom, USB-C port in the top, that's new. Takes the exact same size game cards, so presumably your Nintendo Switch 1 game cards will go nicely into the Nintendo Switch 2. It's about as large as Nintendo could probably go without it feeling like, okay, why would I even want to take this out on public transport with me, maybe on a journey? This is going to be as light, if not, maybe just a smidge heavier than the original Nintendo Switch. But it feels like something I can easily play in my hands for hours on end, which is obviously what you want. One of the most intriguing things about the Nintendo Switch 2 is obviously the sort of mouse-con function, whereby you're able to break off the Joy-Con 2, and use it as a mouse. Obviously, we saw in the Nintendo Direct that there'll be games supporting it, such as Civilization 7, but one of the most surprising things for me was when I got to try it with Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. What really surprised me is how easy it is to kind of switch, instantly between button mode and sort of mouse mode. So you're using the Joy-Con's gyro controls to aim as Samus at different aliens at one point, but if you have a table in front of you, literally in just a second you can pick up your right side Joy-Con 2, slam it down on the table in front of you, and then all of a sudden you're using it as if you would a mouse and keyboard on a PC desktop sort of setup. It feels really intuitive. I can't say that I'm going to use it every time, because obviously when I want to play in the living room on my big screen, it's probably not how I want to play my games. But having said that, it works flawlessly for the most part. As you can see, it's obviously magnetic now. You no longer have to slide the Joy-Con onto the back. So you've got these little sort of latches there, where if you do that, click them off, then they'll pull apart. Whenever I latched it off, it was easy, came off in an instant, slamming them back on. The whole process was incredibly smooth. I'm super impressed with the clarity of the screen. As you can see, I'm cycling through, different characters here. This is a 1080p screen in handheld mode. The previous Nintendo Switch was 720, so you're going to be able to run a lot of higher fidelity games. We're talking the likes of Hitman, we're talking the likes of Cyberpunk, but already from as well-worn a series as Mario Kart, it's looking pretty crisp. Pauline there doing her thing, absolutely wonderful. But I will say about the bezel, right now, it is thick. It's quite, I want to say maybe like half an inch, a couple of centimeters potentially. It's noticeable. I'd rather it wasn't there. Obviously, we always want as much real estate as possible. Sad it's not OLED, but we always knew that was probably going to be the case. Nintendo isn't going to give up the chance to sell us on another, vivid OLED screen, in a couple years from now. There's the freaky new Donkey Kong. Look at him, absolute insanity. Not sure how I feel about that, but everyone seems to love him. Another great factor about the Nintendo Switch 2 is storage. You're going to get a whopping 256 gigabytes built into the device itself, meaning that you're going to have less of a reliance on SD cards versus the original Nintendo Switch from 2017, which launched with a measly 32 gigabytes. 256 gigabytes sounds like a lot more, but given the fact that we don't know the sizes of these first-party games yet, and even some third-party games, obviously a lot of games these days, sometimes something like Call of Duty can break the 100 gigabyte barrier. Yes, it's a lot of storage on the surface, but I think that's going to easily fill up. Can't really speak to battery life right now, because obviously hands-on is limited within the parameters of the Nintendo Switch 2 event, so battery life is obviously a big problem that's affecting a lot of PC handhelds right now, depending on the game you're playing. But one of the things I love about the original Nintendo Switch is, you play a game like Tears of the Kingdom, Breath of the Wild, it's well optimized. Mario Odyssey, you're guaranteed, like multiple hours of playtime, whereas if you try and play something like even Elden Ring on, say, the Steam Deck OLED, it's suddenly a lot trickier to sort of guess how much battery life you're going to get out of the thing. Speaking about the performance of the device itself, I've got to try a couple games today at the Nintendo Switch 2 Experience event in Paris. Mainly Mario Kart World, it looks a treat. Outputting 1080p in handheld mode looks a dream. Also, whilst here, I got to try a bit of Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. Obviously, a really sexy looking high-end game. It's also coming to the Nintendo Switch 1. I got to play the Nintendo Switch 2 version, and it looks really, really sleek. I'd say pretty much on par with the PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X, what those things are doing. Same obviously goes for Donkey Kong Bonanza, which is obviously coming out a month after the Nintendo Switch 2 itself. And guys, just a characterful game. That is kind of like the 3D Explorathon, Collectathon games we knew. And even when it comes to something like that, you've still got the gyroscopic functions. I was punching my way through the walls as Donkey Kong. I was beating on my chest, and he was doing it in-game as well. Just really looked a dream. Bold, colourful, 60 FPS. This is a Nintendo Switch 2 optimized first-party game, and really I'd expect nothing less. I think in the Nintendo Direct we got it was confirmed that we'd be getting quality mode as well as performance mode. But even the quality mode in handheld is on par to what I'd say PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X is doing right now. It may be because it's a racing game and you use the back triggers to drift quite a lot, but the things that are impressing me most is just how responsive the sort of ZL and ZR buttons actually are. They were already pretty good, but right now I feel like there's a bit more real estate on the buttons themselves. So, when I'm throwing red shells in Mario Kart, when I'm drifting using the ZR button, I can have the confidence that it's being registered. And there's some really subtle HD rumble vibrations coming in through the Joy-Con 2 as well. Whenever I take a corner, whenever a shell hits me, it's not too hot. I can definitely feel it building heat, but it's not exerting a lot of air from the ventilation fan on the top there, which is surprising. Obviously the innards are going to be a lot more high performance than what we got with the Nintendo Switch. That's an 8-year-old device. This is coming out in 2025 on June 5th, just in case you didn't know. So it's well optimized. I'm super curious to see how third-party games are going to tackle the Nintendo Switch 2 and whether developers like CD Projekt Red, Ubisoft, IO Interactive, how they're finding keeping this thing running cool with such high-performance games such as Cyberpunk 2077, because we know Nintendo Switch first-party games are going to be well optimized. Mario Kart World and Donkey Kong Bonanza, they're really the sort of true first-party Nintendo Switch 2 games we're getting in the launch window of the device. And if Mario Kart World is anything to go by, it's going to be well optimized. Got Yoshi there with his little headset on, he's loving it as much as I am. We're running at 60 FPS in 1080p. The original Nintendo Switch was only 720, HD ready. We're now at full HD. Times have changed, it's 8 years on. I'm definitely a happy bunny. I know people were a little bit, disappointed as to whether you know, this is the first sequel, true sequel console to a Nintendo console, the Nintendo Switch 2, the first time a 2's ever appeared, but it is exactly what it says on the tin, it seems to be. It's kind of like an extension of everything the Nintendo Switch 2, the Nintendo Switch 1 did really well. Polished up and perfected with better hardware, a brighter LCD screen. Again, this is going to sound incredibly cheesy, but honestly, this is my first time playing the Nintendo Switch 2 in my hands, and it feels like coming home.